Alright everyone, my name is Jordan Hoffman, and today I'm going to teach you how to make hot milk cake. Now, you probably haven't heard of hot milk cake before, but it is super delicious and you're going to love it. You're going to cook it forever. So, my objectives obviously are to learn the steps of making hot milk cake and to be able to go home and do this on your own. And of course, we're going to eat cake. So I think everyone should have that simple, easy, go-to recipe that works like every time. And this cake is really easy, and it's like a sheet cake, so you really can't mess it up. And it tastes delicious, and it goes with everything. You can put anything you want on it. So step one, obviously you're going to go out and buy the ingredients, but it's pretty basic cake, so most likely you already have them in your pantry. So you get your flour, your sugar, your eggs, butter, milk, baking powder, and vanilla. So step two, I always think it's beneficial to separate everything, measure it out before you start, because it just makes it easier and less hassle as you go. So you're going to measure out a cup and 2 tablespoons of flour. You don't have to get exact. You see some people scraping off the knife, making sure, spooning it in. That doesn't really matter. This cake, just don't get a honking mound though, because it may be a little tasteless. And then take that flour and add a teaspoon of baking powder in a separate bowl and just set it aside for a moment. And then you're going to get 2 cups of sugar and put it into your large mixing bowl that you're going to do everything in. And you just set out your 4 eggs and a stick of butter, and just set out your vanilla there. You don't have to let the stick of butter get to room temperature or soften, which is why I really love this recipe, because I'm not patient for that. So, step 3, you want to set the oven. But let's check the oven first, because you never know. There have been times where there was a pan in there and I didn't know. So you want to set it to 350, pretty basic temperature. And it doesn't really matter if you have convection or regular, it does the same thing in both. So step 4, you want to scald the milk. Now, scalding the milk is not like scalding a small child, okay? Although sometimes it gets a little crazy and it's frustrating. But scalding is simply bringing the milk to that point right before boiling, but you don't want it to boil. Because once it boils, it can burn on the bottom, and then it tastes terrible and you have to throw it out and start again. And also, once it starts to boil, it raises up really quickly and it'll overflow and get all over your stove, and you just have a mess, and that sucks. So you're just going to take your cup of milk, put it into the saucepan with a stick of butter and a teaspoon of vanilla. And I always put it on low heat, just so it takes longer to melt and everything, but you won't boil. So stir it every once and again, and just keep an eye on it, because once it does get to that scalding point, it's like instantaneous to boiling. And you take your eye off it for a second and overflow all over your stove. And that sucks. Alright, so step 5. You're going to beat the eggs and the sugar. You don't want to beat them too hard. Okay, they're a little delicate. But you want to do it on low speed. This recipe, you really want to do everything on low speed. So you add 1 egg to the bowl with the 2 cups of sugar, and you beat that for a minute on low speed again, and you just keep adding the rest of the 3 eggs at a minute interval. So in total, you'll go ahead and mix it for 4 minutes. So the next step, you're going to get a sifter like this pretty antique one I have here, and you're going to take the flour and the baking powder that you put in the other bowl and put it in this top and just sift it. You just do it like once. And what it does is it gets out any clumps that are in the flour, it helps separate it, get it more fluffy, so when you add it to the cake and it bakes, it won't be so dense. And that's really important, because it does not taste that great when it's very dense. It really doesn't. And just set that aside. So step 7, we're going to just mix it all together. But again, everything in this cake is done slowly and on low speed. So you don't want to just dump the flour in, because first of all, you get a huge cloud, but then it would stick to the top layer and it just takes really longer for it to incorporate. So you just take your flour mixture, you just dump it, in a little bit at a time, mix it on low speed, do it for about 2 to 4 minutes. This varies depending on what mixer you're using. I use a hand mixer or like the KitchenAid stationary mixer. And the speed, low speed, always varies. There's no, the speed of my hand mixer is actually very fast. So you need to pay attention to that. So just kind of eyeball it. And then, after that, you take the scalded milk off the stove. And this is really important to add slowly, because it'll be really, really hot. and it will splash back up on you if you add it too fast and burn you, and we don't want that. And you just add it slowly, mix it on low again. This time I'd probably mix it more on the 4-minute side because the hot milk is actually melting everything, and you want it to mix longer in order for it to be able to melt everything equally. So, step 8, we're going to pour it in the pan. This cake is great because you can really use it in any pan you want. It really doesn't matter. I've done cupcakes, bundt cakes, I put it in brownie pans, it works great. I usually, though, just use like a regular cookie sheet, and you really want to grease and flour it first, because if you don't, it has so much sugar in it that the bottom layer will burn. So if you don't grease and flour it, it'll burn on the bottom and stick, and then you can't get it out and enjoy your cake. So you just take the batter, pour it in. Now because you mix it so nicely in the hot milk, there will be a lot of bubbles in it because the baking powder is starting to activate. So you just give it a couple good slams on the counter, get the bubbles out, and you'll be good. And step 9, you bake it. Bake it for about 20-25 minutes, and again, this will vary depending on your oven type sometimes. But typically, I just wait until the top gets a nice golden brown color, and that's almost always the sign to just take it out. And then you eat and enjoy. So, we're going to review. I hope you were following along. Alright, so I'm going to have you guys tell me the steps in the correct order. And if you get it right, you get some cake. Alright. Alright, so who wants to go first?
You got this.
Go ahead.
So step number 1 is to buy/collect the ingredients.
Yes.
Am I going through
Yeah,
all
well
that?
no, just do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Just want to pass the ball. Alright, what's step 2?
Prepare the ingredients.
Yeah.
Yes.
Step 3.
Set the oven,
To what temperature?
350.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next step?
Scald the milk?
Yeah.
Like the
No,
person
no,
that
no,
is?
that's, oh, wow, you have one more chance.
Wait, are we on 3 or?
Where, oh, I'm sorry. You were right. I was like, what?
But I was getting scalded for a second.
But what is scalding?
It's not boiling. But almost boiling.
Close enough. Okay, now step 5. Step 5. There's enough.
Yeah,
You can have more.
sugar.
Yes. Step 6. Oh, she hasn't had one yet. Mix it all together? No? No, no. It's
So
50 ingredients.
we're beating
Yes,
eggs,
why do we want
scalding
to
milk.
sit?
It's a very
Because-
hateful cake.
Separates
We're supposed to bake with love.
the flour.
Yeah. 7.
Mix it.
Yeah. Alright, and 8 and 9. No!
Pour it in the pan and bake it.
Yes. Okay.
You bake it for 20
He
to
has
25 minutes.
Oh, okay.
More facts for cake.
Yeah,
Some
seriously,
classes
I'm
where
ready
we
for
can
like
eat
another.
things.
Bake it for 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah, that's what she is.
I mean, I'll take
More?
more.
Yeah.
I'll
More?
take one more. I guess you twist my arm.
I know, it's
I
so
put
hard.
a test after like
Okay, and
That's
that's
delicious.
it. And I have the recipes printed out up here if you want one.
Okay.
Yeah. More?
I don't have
Would you
anything
like another
in my
one?
oven. What?
The only thing I have for my oven is like one of those ceramic circles that you use for like baking biscuits and
How do you
cookies.
make like cook like chicken
Yeah, I don't
and
think you
stuff?
can do a cake on that. Probably
You
Pan sear?
chicken skillet, yeah.
Oh. I make like cooked chicken cordon and stuff. Oh, do I get a big glass thing?
I ate it at John Hall a lot too.
Huh?